Ladies, what is a difficult part of a relationship that is completely normal? The constant work at being better. Things like I know I shouldn't leave towels on the bed. I know how much it drives him crazy. I care about him and I respect the things he needs to feel at ease in our house. So I pick the towels up. Things like that. That minor everyday maintenance, taking care of those hairline cracks before they can deepen and become unstable. 1. Getting used to the routine. I can promise you, the honeymoon phase always wears off. It sucks. You get less attention. You feel less desired. Now the real work starts. 2. Intimacy. Sexual intercourses. It connects to the statement above. As routine gets into a relationship, sexual relations can become a routine as well. Over years of relationship there will be moments where you barely have sex for several days in a row, and you will have to work it out. Intimacy is important. Don't ignore it or let a dead bedroom be the new normal. But there are times where you will feel like you became the cliche of bad relationships in movies, where you barely have sex for a few weeks in a row. 3. Communication. It becomes really important when things in your life become tough. Everybody have tough times. It could be related to work, family, money. Life will throw you some tough times. When things go wrong, that's also where communication can get tough. Even if you used to be the best at sharing incredible moments with your other half before, when life gets tough, that's when you can have serious disagreements. It's completely normal to feel a bit alone sometimes and feel like your other half isn't listening, but always try to get back to it a few hours/days later and work through it together to find a solution that fits both people. I want to add that having no sex for a few days or weeks doesn't have to mean that something is wrong and that you have to work it out. Everybody has a different sex drive and some couples are completely happy and content with having sex only once in a while. Some are happy with having no sex whatsoever. But of course, if the action gets unusual, you have to talk about it to know why. I agree that intimacy is very important, but intimacy doesn't have to be sex. It can also be cuddling and talking about very personal stuff. And the following. Some people are asexual and don't want to have sex ever, which doesn't apply to all ace pals, but have different ways to intimate with their love friend. End. Disagreements. You're bound to have fights with your partner, and as long as you aren't attacking each other, it's normal and healthy. But God, it sucks to fight with someone you love. Yes, specifically, I want to add that there will be disagreements that are solely due to the way you both interpret a different set of facts based on your overall personal experiences. There's some disagreements that will fundamentally come down to your personal beliefs. And if they aren't deal breakers for you, it's okay to acknowledge that they're unmovable and lay those disagreements to rest. Not every disagreement needs a winner or someone convinced of the other side's position. Building true and deep trust. Sounds easy to trust, but previous bad relationships can really throw off trust building in a new one. Or even just hearing all the stories of people who assumed their relationship was going great, only to discover their partner is lying/cheating. Makes me scared for myself lol. I think being selfless honestly, knowing that I want that last bag of chips, but I should really leave it for my partner. Fixing old habits that annoy your partner, even though it takes work. Things like that. Putting someone else's needs before your own is a tough adjustment, I think. I don't consider myself a particularly selfish person in general, but when it comes to how I live and my home, I think sharing that space was a difficult adjustment. I'm lucky that I have a partner that does the same back to me though, so it all evens out. Yeah, I'm bummed that I didn't get to eat the last jello, but also he made me coffee this morning because he knows I like to sleep in. Find yourself a giver. Mismatched expectations. Clean to you doesn't mean clean to them. Same thing with other important words like family, healthy, successful, rich, etc. But it's also so important for the little stuff. What do you do for fun? Where do you get your energy from? How do you like to be comforted? It's so difficult aligning on this poop, and it's so normal. It's a good realization for all relationships that hashing out your expectations can really help avoid fights down the line. Remembering to actively show small gestures of affection every so often. like doing one of their house chores or making them breakfast on a Saturday morning. Especially when those types of gestures come more naturally to your partner than you. It's too easy to just fall into your own solo routine and do the bare minimum, making the other person feel taken for granted as time goes on. Communication and for me balance. Understanding and loving someone triggers that nurturing tendency, and the whole I can deal with this, so I'll just be okay and make it work so they can be okay. It took a while to realize I kept accidentally making myself smaller, which is something nobody wanted or desired. If we're talking about a lifetime relationship, for me is the fact that I might have to bury my partner. Death per se doesn't scare me, but having to live without him does. Venting hysterically. Sometimes one partner just has to complain. This isn't something you'll do with a friend or anyone else. It's not a side the rest of the world should see, and it can be ugly sometimes. But it's completely normal. You and your partner are there to validate each other and support each other. So long as you're not redirecting your anger/frustration onto your partner, there's nothing wrong with this. It can be difficult because it can feel overwhelming for the support partner, or you can get carried away and it can be too much or start wearing down the relationship. It's important to communicate what you need. Try not to raise your voice. Limit yourself time-wise and keep your partner's feelings in mind. As the other partner, it's okay to ask for them to lower their voice or not scream, but don't ignore what they're saying because of their tone. They likely really need to be heard. If you feel like it's happening too much, have that discussion at a different time, not while your partner is freaking out, and don't shame them. Conflict. You and your partner are each a whole human being with a life of different experiences. It's normal and natural to bicker. Relationships are not static. Choosing healthy, constructive communication instead of falling back on unhealthy conflict or avoidance techniques. For me, focusing on myself and my goals when I'm crazy about my partner. Love to shower him with affection, but it's not good for my future to be so focused. Having difficult conversations. I feel like sometimes people forget that those are needed and can help solve problems or worries you didn't know you had. Deciding on what food to eat, hahaha. Exclamation mark. Biggest problem of my relationship. JK. I would say #1 is establishing communication and honesty. During my earlier years of dating, I would always try to say the most politically correct thing to impress my guy, or be afraid to tell the truth to prevent offending my partner. But you eventually grow out of that phase because you learn that being honest and open in a relationship is the key to success. /2. Spending time with yourself. The balance between personal goals/hobbies, career and relationship. Handling anger and frustration. It's completely normal to feel both of those things, but it's really difficult for me to handle when he's angry. He'd never direct it at me, but I have a trauma background, so the fact he's angry at all is triggering for me, and equally difficult for me to handle when I'm angry and work out how to manage that in a productive way. For me, I definitely think it's the expectations within communication. I find it hard to open up with my partner about things that they do that bothers me, so it's a work in progress to be more open in my communication so it doesn't become a bigger issue or argument. Confrontation. Major disagreements or anything that could turn into a nasty argument that can be triggering. Making the effort to be affectionate and present after a long workday when you're in need of recharging your batteries, #NAPLIFE. Finding a system of communication that works for both, taking in consideration each one's specific needs. You have to really open up and be vulnerable with each other to learn what helps and what doesn't in terms of communication and support. Also takes some trial and error to get it down, but it's all worth it and saves so much misunderstanding later on. Having initial difficulty with being vulnerable. Everyone has their front they always put up to be strong and brave. The one that takes time and trust to lower, to open up. I'm very tough emotionally around others. I'm the shoulder they use. I'm the beam that supports the structure. It took a lot for me to cry because of a stupid reason. It's completely normal to feel ashamed or even disgusted at first. You've never been this weak before. Never felt this naked. The breaking point is the hardest, but it's worth it. It's not in every relationship and every person issue, but I've heard it from my friends from time to time. Usually women are supposed to be the fragile six, but we are not stereotypes. We can cry and still be strong. We can rely on others for consolation, especially from someone so significant to us. When you first start living together, the household tasks. I'm kinda clean because my head is cluttered. My so is the opposite. We had to make agreements, haha, and disagreements in general. Sometimes you have to just try to understand and agree to disagree. Discussing a future together. I don't want to set myself up for failure. I don't want to plan a future with them and then have it be snatched away. My partner and I have been together for 2 years and we just now briefly discussed children and marriage. But more like, do you see me in the future as in marriage and children, and his response with yes, and that's about it. I wish I could daydream with him, but I guess it's me and him protecting ourselves in case it doesn't happen. I'm also in an interracial relationship, so discussing children who may not look like him also made me feel a little uneasy because I didn't know his response. I wish I knew more about a plan, but I guess when it's discussed as real and serious it'll mean much more than just talk with him. Edit. To add on, I want to make plans for myself, whether it's travel, nursing or moving states to advance my degree, but it's hard to discuss that with him not knowing his goals and if they'll align with mine. We often use what would you do if your future wife or your future kids is. It's never ours or us. I know people find this weird, but this is how we talk, lol. I'm waiting for the day where we can transition this. Having to compromise and take the other person into account with life goals. It's great to have a partner through these things, but I always feel somewhat constrained that I can't just pick up and move to like a studio in New York City or Paris for 6 months just for fun. My partner would hate it. Has a job where he couldn't do that, and the cost of supporting 2 separate places to live makes whims not really work out. I don't feel that difficult is the right word, because these are things that happen in all relationships that should be expected. But maybe the difficult part is not letting these normal things turn into something else. Disagreements. Periods of less sex. Periods where one or both of you are busier than normal and don't have a ton of time. Occasionally being annoyed or frustrated with your partner. They're all things that happen. Nothing is wrong with your relationship if you got a little miffed that your partner left their socks on the bathroom floor for the 700th time. As long as you both handle it in an adult manner, it's fine. With my mom, it's her expectations of me that I can't fulfill that are entirely because we're opposites. It's understandable because she can only think how she thinks, and I think how I think. But it's really difficult to contend with her expectations of my life and how I'm as a person. And the thing is, everyone goes through this, and afterwards, you look back and are like, now I get it. But while you're going through it, it really, really sucks. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.